Bonjour, everybody. Hi. Good morning. Good Saturday morning. This is Neshi with Star Nations Organization. You're watching a live stream from our fan page, our main fan page at Star Nations Organization. Every morning I do a card draw, and I share the information around that, and then I do the posting to Instagram. And so good Saturday morning. It is a beautiful day here in Toma, Wisconsin. It is hot. I'm not complaining, no. Are you kidding? We have, it was 68 degrees when I got up this morning at 6 a.m. Yeah, we're supposed to have a high of 96, I think. Yeah, it's hot. But you know what? Here in Wisconsin, we get really cold winters. And so when it gets this hot, I'm not complaining, because in 6 months from now, we could have 30 degrees below zero with the wind chill factor. So this is a good thing. Well, good morning, Elise. Thanks for joining. I'm just going to turn down my phone ringer here. Turn it off so we don't get interrupted. And it's been an interesting morning here. Interesting in the fact that, whenever Paul has a weekend off, it kind of moves my usual scheduled stuff kind of around a little bit, so you have to be flexible. And it's fun, though. It's fun to have him home in the mornings when he's up and we can do breakfast together and that kind of thing. And now, that I'm doing these 10 o'clock live streams, he's very helpful. He wants to do all the AV stuff, and that kind of thing. But anyway, I came up here this morning to the academy and to do the live stream. And as I get out of my car, I'm getting my computer and all my stuff out of the car. And I turn and I didn't realize we had baby bunnies in our front garden. I do now, because somebody killed them and left them on the walk. So I just came in. I was putting tobacco down for them, and Paul's going to come and take the little bodies away and bury them for me, and then put more tobacco in with them. There was one that was kind of breathing, sort of. I tried to be gentle with him or her. I picked him up and put them back into their little bunny nest and kind of covered it a little bit, because it's going to be so hot. I didn't want to leave him out exposed. So I don't know if he's going to make it or not. Before I leave to go back down to the house, I'll check on him and see how he's doing. Maybe move him to someplace a little safer, or put maybe something around him. So, I'm thinking it was probably one of our neighborhood cats, probably, and I know it's a life cycle. I know that it's things like that happen, and I, like I said, I didn't realize we had a baby bunny nest out front. So I'm not sure. I'm going to check in with my spiritual team to find out what, if there's any deeper meaning behind all of that, and do what needs to get done with it. So it was an interesting morning. Interesting. For those who are going to be joining us and they haven't ever joined us before, they don't know, what is this live stream all about? Well, this live stream I started at the beginning of this month, every morning, because I draw a card, a divination card of one kind or another, every morning. For a really long time, I've been doing this. And last year I decided that maybe it'd be nice to maybe share a portion, like a sentence or two or something like that on our Star Nations Instagram account. And so I started doing that. And then at the beginning of this month, the beginning of May, I had this brilliant idea, right? Bright idea, that light bulb goes on, that maybe those in our community here at Star Nations would enjoy hearing about the card draw and the back story of some of that. And so that when they see the posting from Instagram on Facebook, they'll know much more about the background of that card drawing than just that one sentence, right? Good morning, Jill Conrad. So good you could join us. Yeah, Elise saying it's going to be really hot there too. Yeah. We have the Memorial Day powwow. The Ho-Chunk Nation does their annual Memorial Day powwow. It's a non-competition powwow, which means that where it's really more of a social and to honor those Ho-Chunk veterans, or any veteran really, for their service to their country. And it is something to see. I have to say that. Their powwow grounds around the dance ring and then the seating area. And outside of the seating area in the larger circle, they have, I don't even know how many flagpoles set up. There's a lot. There's more than just a couple. And the families who receive a flag at the funeral of their loved one who was in the military, it's the one time a year that they can bring it out and actually fly that flag. And so there's a ceremony. There's the flag song, and the ceremony that goes with that at the beginning of the powwow. So today, I think it's at 1:00. The families will be able to go there, and they're going to do the ceremony, and they get to raise the flags. And their loved one's U.S. flag that was gifted to the family will fly all weekend in honor of them. And so it's a really poignant ceremony, and the song that goes with it, right? And so we can't make it to that one, but we're hoping to go tomorrow for the grand entry tomorrow. So it's going to be hot. And I'm thinking about those poor dancers. It's going to be hot dancing out there in the noonday sun. Well, it's actually not noonday, but the afternoon sun, right? Yeah. I'll be one of those people tomorrow, intertribals. Wearing a skirt, that's for sure. It's going to be hot. So today's card draw. Here we go. It's the arrow. It's about truth and protection. And there again, we see on the image the use of the colors of the medicine wheel. You got the blue, the white, the red, yellow, and the black. Yeah, I like that. I like that image. Wouldn't that make a great logo for a business or something? Or a blog? Or I think that would make a great logo. It's got a lot to it. A lot of energy on that one. So it's about truth and protection. And since I'm a triple Sagittarian, the arrow kind of fits, you think, huh? I think. So anyway, Jamie Sams, when she wrote about this particular card, she talked a lot about the warrior societies and how we use the word chief. It's still leadership. It's somebody who's responsible for the people. I'm finding that in indigenous languages here on Turtle Island, when the missionaries and other non-native people came, in their interpretation of what is being said, when they're interpreting, because they're learning the language, right? And they're putting it into English or another language like French or English. They go to the nearest word that they feel is descriptive of that indigenous word. And so chief really is not really a word that translates to Potawatomi anyway, or to Ho-Chunk. It's that leader who is responsible for all the people. And many times that lineage is hereditary. Other times it's appointed or selected, right? But Jamie Sams writes a lot about when it comes to the arrow, because the arrow seems to be a symbol for warriors in many indigenous cultures. And she writes that the warrior clans of Native America were the protection of the people. The spirit of the warrior clan is represented by the arrow. She says courage was the main ingredient in making of a warrior, but it had to be tempered with truth, common sense, physical prowess, integrity, and connection to spirit before the right to be warrior clan was earned. And what she's writing about is really in our history, our ancestors. And as we apply it to today's energy field, in the modern day, it's just not men who are warriors. And there's warriors of many different kinds. It's not somebody who is just the use of a lethal weapon, right? It could be a pen. It could be a keyboard. It could be your voice as a warrior. And we've talked about the rainbow warrior, right? And that's a warrior of peace. So as we're talking about the warrior societies, I was thinking about how does it apply today? Understanding the historical aspect of it is really good. But how does that apply today? And where do the ancestors and the descendants, that would be us, how do we apply an ancient belief to our lives today? That was my question this morning after reading the information. She says that in some Native American cultures, a warrior or a chief was considered to be a full-grown adult at 50 years. And so 50 years and older, you were considered to be responsible enough, have enough life experience to step into a leadership role, meaning that you had worked your way through a lot of the trials and tribulations of life to be able to be that grounded, balanced individual that could lead and protect an entire nation, right? And a nation is made up of many clans, and the clans are made up of individual families. And so in modern day, that would be like your nuclear family, right? Your mom, dad, children, right? And then what we call the extended family. So that would be your aunts, your uncles, their children, your grandparents, and so that is the clan. And so it takes many of those to make up a nation. Yeah, I think I did that right. One of the things she wrote about that it kind of jumped out at me, right, is she writes about in the Lakota, or the Osage Sakoin tradition, she writes that there's a progression, I guess, in the warrior society. And the first one that a young person would do would be the dog soldier. And then they would progress as their experience progressed. They would be able to join other societies. And one of them is a Strong Heart Society. The Strong Heart Society, she writes, is it's considered to be very elite and the mark of those that had distinguished themselves in battle and had earned many coup feathers. The warrior clan was very honored when one of its members made it into the Strong Heart Society. So how do we look at that today? I just like that term, Strong Heart Society. Just to have the strong heart. personally, personally, just to be human on this planet and living a human life, it's not for the faint of heart. That's for sure. You have to have a strong heart, and to be able to experience this life and keep going, right? And have a positive outlook, because things can get really hard. Many people would say that, well, you created it, right? You manifested that. Could be, very well be, but it still takes a strong heart, I think. So she talks about. There's another thing that she wrote here that jumped out at me. She says, from the age of 7, all of a child's gifts or talents were in place. At the age of 7. And to me, that makes sense, because when we come in to this earth life and, we're that child, if you don't come in as a walk-in, you come in as a child, you have this knowing. You see life much differently than you do as an adult, right? And I think as a child, we do remember our gifts much easier. We do the things that are fun. We make sure that we have playtime and experimenting with our gifts, right? And so by the age of 7, you're thinking about that. That's like kindergarten, first grade, right? First grade, maybe second. She says the gifts determined by the grandparents would watch the children and identify what their gifts were, what they were good at. And then they would pair them up with an adult in the clan, in the nation, that would become their mentor, their teacher, and then teach them about their gift, because more than likely they had the same gift, right? And so they were able to help hone that child's gifts and teach them about it, and I'm thinking, that would be like way cool, no wonder why some grandparents just love having their grandchildren around, because they get to teach them the stuff, right? But I was thinking that even as adults, here in Star Nations anyway, in our community, we have many spiritual teachers in this community. Many of them are show hosts or contributing writers. They're teachers. We also have many teachers in the community who listen and watch our shows, who are guest contributors sometimes to the magazine. And so we're always, as an adult, looking for ways to polish up our gifts, or, to claim them even. We look within the community and we can find either someone who can help us do that, or maybe they know somebody, right? It's called networking. Yeah, modern day networking. And so we have the opportunity as adults to remember those gifts and to polish them up. And in that polishing, what we're doing is we're taking our gifts and using them in our community, whether it's in the Star Nations community or maybe it's your home community, but taking your gifts and being of service to others, right? Yeah. So the arrow, that was today's card draw, the arrow. She goes on to write about the arrow. She says the arrow was quick to protect and quick to act in crisis. Straight and true, weighing all future possibilities, each chief aimed for the highest good and remained totally responsible for the actions of each decision he made. Good morning, Judy. Hey, Carla Joe. I'm so glad you guys are with us. And so, you're taking a look at the attributes of the arrow. It's straight, and it goes in the path that it was shot, right? It doesn't take a left turn. It's not like golf where you can slice it. It follows the path that it was shot into, and it's got that tip. and the tip that is able to pierce, right? And so the arrow is, when you think of the bow and the arrow as a team, they go together, they're partnered together. Yeah, sure, you could use the arrow without the bow in certain ways, but it goes further when used with the bow. And the bow can be used for other things other than shooting an arrow, other attributes that it has. But it does best when it's paired with the arrow. And it is the balance between male and female again. The arrow being a male energy and the bow being the female energy. Think about that. The female energy is the one that's catapulting the male energy toward a target. Straight and true, toward a target. And they talk about truth as protection, right? And so when it is used for truth, it hits the target, right? That's the way I think of it anyway. She does write about the bow, and she calls it the bow of beauty. It was said to have been made of the finest gold, which represented the gold light of grandfather son's love, and was inlaid with pearls, which represented the essence of grandmother moon's nurturing. At the core of the warrior clan's principles was the balance of male and female within each brave. The balance was found through the willingness to bend like the bow of beauty and send the arrow of truth into the world. I like that. I like that image, you know? Because can't you just imagine that bow of beauty, what that looked like? And the bow really, what they're talking about is the long bow. And in order to string the bow, you had to bend it. And let me tell you, it takes a lot of pressure to bend that bow, that long bow, to slip the string over the end. My brothers used to shoot longbow, and it takes a lot of muscle, really, upper body muscle, to even pull the string back. At least watching them, it looked that way. Ho-Chunk culture, Potawatomi culture, the way that my mother was raised. When you have brothers, you're not really allowed to hunt with a bow or to use a bow and arrow, because you have brothers that can do that for you, and it's their responsibility. And my brothers took that. I mean, they hunted and did all of that. Looking back at it, you know, I should have just took up target practice at least, just to be that person, you know. So anyway, I really like that imagery of the balance between the male and the female, and the use of the beautiful bow and the arrow. Now, she writes about one other thing in this, and because she's writing about the warriors, right, and how they work together, and how the progression of their training goes, and what that entails. People are writing stuff in the chat room. Hang on just a second. I'm going to read it. Carla Jo says, so many of us do not make use of our gifts. That's so true. She goes on to say that the time I helped a friend string her bow, it felt as if the bow might break before the string was set. I know. Because you're putting so much pressure on it. And, you know, in bows, long bows, the original long bows, not the fiberglass, they're made of only certain wood at a certain age. It's not like you can use any and every kind of wood. I think it's ash, and there's another one. I can't remember, but there's certain woods that they would use to make the bows, and certain wood to make the arrow. And it takes quite a skill to craft an arrow. It's not simple. It's not simple at all, because you have to really, it's a certain length. You have to get everything that would because you want it smooth as it's flying through the air. So anything that would slow it down, you want to take it off or smooth it out, and for it to be as straight as possible and round, right? And so it's aerodynamic. Aerodynamic. I didn't mean that on purpose. And just the fleshing of the feathers on the tip, and then finding the right tip itself. We're talking about prior to metal coming to the United States, to Turtle Island, and so you're talking about arrowheads and the weight of the arrowhead and how big the arrowhead is. It's not an easy task to do, and people were really trained to be able to make the arrows and the bows. And it took a long time. That's right, Carla. That's it. You. In England, they used yew for the bows. Yes. Hi, Mary Suckwith. Good to have you in the chat room. You're right. That was the other one I couldn't remember. Yew. And the long bows, don't you find it interesting? 2 different continents, and they had the same kind of bow, the long bow. Now the arrows might have been made a bit different, and they say that you could tell who the arrow maker was by the feathers and the fleshing and of the feathers, that it was like their signature. It's like kind of like designer arrows. It's fascinating stuff. Fascinating. Okay, here's the one thing that I found. Another thing that I found very interesting in what Jamie Sams wrote about, because remember, she's talking about the warrior and the attributes of the warrior, and building the character of the person, right? That at some point in their life that they may become a major leader of their people. And so she talks about the blood brother ceremony. She calls it an undaunted connection of man to man that produced the union of heart, body, and strength that creates a support system for the balanced warrior spirit within each man. Much has been lost in the world of separation that needs to be regained by exchanging blood through a small cut on both men's hands, and to pledge to allow their blood to run as one. The undying loyalty of a friend made brother is promised in the blood brother ceremony. The type of commitment is rare in the culture today. And I have to admit that. I have to say I agree. I agree with her about that kind of commitment. You can find it. It's there, but it's rare. It really is rare. And those people in the chat, have any of you ever done a blood brother or blood sister ceremony? Have you ever been a part of that? Because it's a different kind of relationship. I think it's different than, in many indigenous cultures, there's something about adoption, that we adopt grown people into our family, making them a relative, right? And that is a very serious ceremony as well. But this one takes it a step further. The blood ceremony actually, it brings the essence, your essence in your blood together, and it is a stronger. It's a stronger bond. It's a stronger bond than most other ceremonies. And I know that there's other cultures who have that kind of ceremony as well. But I was just wondering if anybody in the chat has ever experienced that kind of ceremony. Jill says, I did as a child with my best friend. We didn't know what we were doing, but we were sincere. Yep. Yeah, I did the same thing, Jill. She's still my friend. we're sisters. Um, I've known Marley since the third grade, and she and I did the pricking of the finger and talking about it, and 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 doing that. And did we really know what we were doing at the time? I would say no. The magnitude of what we were stepping into. When I came home and I was all excited about it and told my mom about it, oh my gosh, she was upset, because she says to me, she goes, "Do you realize now you are responsible for her for the rest of your life, the rest of her life? You will always be connected for the rest of your life. You're responsible for her." And I didn't see a bad thing about that. I didn't know what my mom was so upset about. Um, but our relationship is one that we may not talk all the time. You might not have a connection every day or every week or even every month. But our connection has lasted, 40 years or more than that, 50 years. Um, Yeah, and we take care of each other. If somebody needs something, if we ask, it's delivered. If we don't ask and we don't know about it, there's not much you can do. But that ceremony all those years ago is still viable today, and we take care of each other. In fact, she's doing she's building a 3-stage composting bin, and she was having problems getting pallets because that's what she was going to use. I guess she got some design off from do it yourself or whatever, a DIY project. And so she's telling me about it. I could get her the pallets. Paul works in a place where the pallets, the employees can use as many pallets as they want because they end up getting, trashed, recycled. And so we were able to get the pallets for her. And Paul even delivered them because Marley lives about an hour and 20 minutes away from me. And so, that relationship is still ongoing. It's still a really important relationship in my life. But, doing it as a child, no, you don't understand the magnitude of it. But maybe that's a good thing because at the time I didn't even know to try to talk her out of it. I just thought, yeah, that's a good idea. Let's do it. Now later in life, I did it again. And this time I did try to talk the person out of it. Do you realize you're joining my family? My family. We're not perfect. Some of my family members are a little, we're all really strong personalities. And so I was just trying to prepare for that. And so that's a relatively new relationship. And so we are building, we're learning about it, right? And we're experiencing it. Doing the ceremony as an adult is completely different than when you do it as a child. As an adult, because now I know. What's that old saying? Once you know, you can't unknow. You can't unknow it. There's the responsibility is huge, and the way that my mom, my elder, reacted with the first time I did it was she was upset. The second time I did it, she goes, "Well, now you went into this with your eyes open, with your heart open. You knew what you're stepping into and the responsibility for it." And so she was supportive of it. In fact, she's the one who started telling my brothers, because I don't have any blood sisters. Excuse me. She's the one that was telling my brothers, "Did you know you have a new sister? Yeah, you have a new sister." And so, yeah. So she was more supportive the second time around. Although I have to admit, I took my time on that one. over a year. Over a year, we talked about it, and jumping into something like that isn't. Yeah, once you can talk about it. I can guarantee you, though, no matter how much you talk about it, and you're never fully prepared for all the nuances. Hindsight's 2020, right? And so when we do something like that, we don't know everything. It's not until we start experiencing it. And I think that this particular card does say something about that, because you have to have some truth going on before you can step into that. And that arrow piercing, that drawing that blood, it's a straight line. It's a straight arrow when you enter that, and that lifelong. That's a whole nother topic, isn't it? Relationships and how we enter them, and the vows that we take, as in marriage or any other kind of vow into a relationship. I should do a show on that and get some people to come on with me, because that's some big stuff. Because there's different ways to enter a relationship, and how do you nurture that relationship, and how do you protect that relationship, right? Wow. All right, we got a good topic there. So Jamie Sams goes on to write that she says the arrow's path is straight and narrow, and that the target is the heart. At the heart of every warrior is the compassion of the chief and the legacy of leadership for the good of all the people. All races of the earth, of Grandmother Earth, depend on the rainbow warriors of the world to reform the warrior brotherhood in order to accomplish the fulfillment of the fifth world of peace. For this to occur, we must use the teaching of the arrow, that is, using total truth as our weapon and our protection. I like that, the total truth. Yeah, which is, I say that, that you have your own truth. There's my own truth, and then there's the divine truth. There's the truth of the human, and then there's the truth of the creator. And we try to be as close as the truth to the creator, but we're human. And so my truth may not be the same as your truth. That's life, right? And so as long as you come from your heart and you stand in your truth, your stance is pretty strong, and you usually are of an open heart when you stand in your truth. So the application of the card. If the arrow has found its target in your cards today, you are being asked to find the truth of your present situation. Finding the truth in your present situation. You can protect yourself from uncomfortable situations by using the truth as a protection. She says that when you honor that truth, you cannot be hurt by the lies of others. In other words, when you stand in your own truth, whatever anybody else says doesn't really matter, right? Arrow also speaks of the ideas of brotherhood. This is to say that you must armor yourself with the good intent and truthfulness of those you wish to associate with. Drop those who would no longer honor your path or truth. Remember, arrow is straight and always says, stay on the sacred path. So as we grow and as we change, as we evolve, as our soul grows, right, we get more experience. Our vibration changes. We get to vibrate closer and closer to our original vibration that we came in with, our original soul song. And with that, there's some people who may not match that vibration. And it's not a negative. It's not a negative thing. It's not a bad thing. It's just that you don't see eye to eye. You just don't vibrate the same way that you used to. And so it's okay. It's okay to let go and wish them well and mean it and mean that I do care about you. You know, it's just that we're headed on different paths right now. Who knows? Maybe in the future they'll converge again. They'll come back in. But for right now, I'm wishing you well on your path, and you let them go. Now I make it sound really easy, but we all know that it doesn't always play out that way. It doesn't always play out that way because we have life lessons involved in that all along the way. So if we can remember and standing in our truth with a good heart, those people who are meant to be in our lives in this moment will be there, and those who are not meant to be in our lives any longer won't be. The hard part, take it from me, the hard part is when that happens and you have a blood oath together that you have to find a way through that, with that, to honor that, because you can't take it away. You can't rescind that because it's blood. So with all that information about the arrow and how that is meant for you, whatever was discussed or said out loud, if it resonated with you, great. Hold on to that. See how the energy flows for you today. And what didn't, just let it go. It's all right. Wasn't meant for you. And watch how the energy flows around you, through you, to you, based on the information that you heard today. Jill is saying, this is the hardest thing for me right now. Get torn between letting go because we're headed on different paths versus am I supposed to grow so much in love and non-judgmental, seeing the other as one, then how can I justify releasing somebody who is hurting me by my current situation? Yeah, that is hard. Been there. This is what I feel. And I don't know if it's going to resonate with you or not, Jill, but I'm going to say it anyway, okay? Is to feel the feelings. Identify those feelings for yourself. Sometimes what's on the surface is only a small part of what's going on. If you're feeling hurt, what is that feeling around the hurt? Fear, loneliness, shame. What is the feeling? What's underneath it? And going a little bit deeper with it and saying, okay, now what part of that is mine? What part of that is mine? And you can only take care of your side of the street. Life lessons are two-way streets. And we can only take care of our own side. And I just used this yesterday, is that, we have to be aware of our environment. And as we're going down the street, we're watching for signs, right? Slow down, yield, stop, children at play. All along our path, we're getting signs. And whether or not we need the sign or take a look at the sign, sometimes the yield sign is for us to slow down to be able to see what's coming. It's a caution, right? Read the signs. Identify your feelings, your real feelings underneath the surface of what's going on. If it's anger, feel the anger. Don't live in it, but feel it. And then move to the next piece. What makes it angry? Why? Why am I so triggered by that? And once you start asking those deeper questions, that's where the truth and honesty comes in too. Got to be truthful to ourselves. Maybe I screwed up. I've done that and had to apologize for it and truly from my heart apologize. Whether or not to take the apology, if that's their side of the street. As long as I apologized with a good heart and meant it, I just took care of my side of the street, you know. She's saying that hurt from repeated behaviors over the years in which I have allowed myself to be in a non-reciprocal friendship. I always do that. So that's my fault. At least you identified it. That's huge. Some people wouldn't even, they might see it, but they might not acknowledge it, right? Yeah, the arrow piece, she's saying the arrow pieces to the heart of the matter is right on. Yeah, you know, what I've learned, and I've seen it written in other quotes and that kind of thing, but it is true, is that the pain and uncomfortableness that we feel in a situation is usually when we're struggling with it and fighting the flow, that we're not in the flow, that literally swimming upstream or across the current, which is even harder, right? So we're making it harder for ourselves. And in my life, I found that when you're in the flow, think about it, imagine it, you know, being in the stream, a gentle stream, and you flip over to float, and the stream is carrying you along. You have a chance to kind of look around, you know. You get to see the cloud formations in the trees and the banks and everything else that's coming around you. And you have time to think. You have time to feel. And okay, this is when you have that imagery and you're in the water, ask the spirit of water to help you. How to be in the flow. The spirit of water. Yeah. I don't know. That just came up. I don't know if that's going to be helpful or not, Jill. But you can give it a whirl and see how it goes, okay? I don't know. Maybe you even want to take a bath and be in the spirit of water, or go for a swim. That's even better. Go for a swim. It's going to be hot enough. Go for a swim and be in the spirit of water. Wash your spirit clean and ask the question, how can I be better in the flow with this? Water is about emotion. What's my true emotion in all of this? What's at the root? What's my root emotion in this? And see what happens. She's saying our water is 55 degrees still. That would be a shocking cold. But you know, here it's going to be 96 degrees, so it might feel good. You never know. All right. So guys, I kept you long again today, and just kind of sharing. Enjoy your holiday weekend if that is how you celebrate Memorial Day weekend. I am going to probably end up at the Memorial Day powwow tomorrow and do, if it's not too hot, and dance a couple intertribals, and we'll see the flags maybe being brought down. My husband likes to go there like on the last day, on Memorial Day. We'll probably end up there late in the afternoon because you know, he retired from the military, and he likes to help take the flags down, because there's a certain way that you have to fold the flag. And a lot of people don't know how to fold. And so he likes to help. He likes to help out and get the flags folded in the correct way so that they can be given back to the family, placed in the family's hands again in the appropriate way. And so he likes doing that. So that's what we're going to end up probably doing. So with that, enjoy your weekend and the rest of your Saturday. And I'll see you back here tomorrow morning for tomorrow's card draw. So Bama Mina. We'll see each other again.